Hello, I'm Frost, and welcome to another Alliance Spotlight. In this episode, I am talking to Silver Suspiria, one of the founding members of Federation Uprising. Just so you know, we had a bit of a problem with Silver's video during the recording, but the main thing is that the audio is absolutely fine, so we will have a smooth flowing episode for you. So, time to get started. Silver, hi, thank you very much for coming on to Alliance Spotlight. And we're going to be talking about Federation Uprising. So obviously, you guys are very much involved in the war right now, but with Alliance Spotlight, we don't really kind of cover just what's on today, but really kind of get an understanding of the history of the Alliance and its culture, etc. So I'm going to start with the obvious thing. I know that you guys formed way back in 2017. So do you want to give me a little bit of history of like where the name came from, why you guys formed, etc.?
Sure, yeah, and thank you for having me. Yeah, FedUp's been around a while. We started out in LowSec as a faction warfare alliance, and the name comes from. There was an interesting time in EVE around 2017. It was just after Citadels were introduced, just after Alpha clones were introduced, and so things started to drastically shift around then. And I had been part of a couple of alliances in faction warfare. And what we wanted to do, myself, Contraband Vending, and Ashtarothi, actually, with Aderon Robotics, was sort of form a new type of alliance for faction warfare, an alliance that has a bunch of corporations that all work together to do a single task. We've all been part of, alliances at the time that each corporation kind of did their own thing, and we kind of wanted to be more unified.
Yeah, that became important with the Citadels coming in with faction warfare, because Citadels changed that a lot, right?
Yeah, it sort of changed the game. I mean, you used to be able to capture a system and then lock your enemy out of the NPC station, so they couldn't dock there anymore. Citadels sort of changed all of that.
Okay, but obviously now, you're like full on nullsec. So how did that transition happen?
Well, what happened back then was the Caldari militia at the time sort of really grabbed control of the Alpha clones when they first came out, and they had a huge spike of people that came in, and they became very big and powerful. The Caldari militia specifically. So we wanted to fight them head on, and that was sort of like the tail end of like the heyday of faction warfare, if you will. Like, I understand today there's plenty of stuff going on, but like it was way bigger back prior to 2017. So we sort of went to war with Caldari one last time, and we wound up winning that war zone. And then the bigger group that we used to fight all the time, Templis Kalisef, you might know them over in Wrecking Crew, they pulled out of the war zone, and that kind of left us as like a fairly large group with no one really to fight. So that's when we decided to like look at nullsec. We started in Cloud Ring, actually, just to get some content and some objective-based things going on.
Okay, all right, excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause you right now because your screen has gone nuts. I have actually completely lost you. I've got literally just fuzz on my screen. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and reconnect to you. So if you want to stop your stream and restart it, can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. I had to do a little cut there because Silver's screen went a little bit bizarre, but we managed to fix it. So welcome back, Silver. So we were talking about you moving into nullsec. So how did you choose where you were going to go?
Right. So at the time, a lot of our group still liked the low-sec life of like small gang conflict and frigate fighting and stuff. So we wanted to pick a place that had good proximity to low-sec in the old war zone, so that we could kind of be in both places at the same time. And that worked out well for quite a while.
Okay. And so where did you end up in nullsec?
We wound up in Cloud Ring, and then we moved to Pureblind a couple months later. Pureblind was a better location because it's actually one jump off the Caldari Galente war zone in the northern part of it.
Okay, so obviously now you are part of Legacy Coalition, right? So how let me see how I can describe this. So you went obviously from Cloud Ring, so somehow you ended up in a very different part of the universe, and you now have as your friends the whole of Legacy Coalition. How did that come about? How did you end up there?
Yeah, pretty interesting. Like a lot of low-sec alliances, we had to deal with snuff.
Hmm.
and sort of the collapse of the Glente militia. There was a lack of content there for a long time in the north, so the Glente militia kind of broke apart, and we started doing a little bit of infighting. And then Snuff decided that they wanted to just cleanse the area as they do.
Yeah.
And we had quite the conflict with Snuff and some other groups from the old Glente militia, and we wound up getting evicted from Pureblind and Cloud Ring and Losec for that matter after a couple of months of fighting.
Hmm.
So we
And
kind of needed a new home.
okay, so you headed south basically, and you sort of ended up with Legacy.
We
Okay, so
did, and
yeah.
I owe that to Ron USMC mostly because I was hosting a show on Talking in Stations with him at the time, and I was telling him about what had happened, and he had suggested that maybe we consider Legacy as a home, and kind of set us up there.
Okay, so obviously, you said before that you were involved kind of like in factional warfare, and you did a lot of frigate combat and stuff. Obviously, nullsec combat is very, very different. How did that change the playstyle within the alliance, and the playstyle that you have today? Is that kind of, do you find it now really suits you?
Yeah, it took us about a year or two once we came down to Legacy to really transition into that kind of style. But there are elements of nullsec that we really like that harken back to those days. Specifically, sob fighting on a medium to small scale is very much like faction warfare fighting, where
Yeah.
there's like these point objectives all around the constellation, and we really enjoy that actually.
Well, you've been really busy with that. I mean, at the time of shooting this video, which is in April, you guys were in Fountain, busy taking territory up there, and yeah, you've been heavily involved in soft warfare. That was very clear. But
Yeah,
it is fun
and
though, isn't it? Because it's kind of seat of the pants FC. You're having to get your fleets in multiple places and fly around as quickly as you can, and you can get all very hectic. And personally, I like that. I liked doing soft warfare, and especially your jackdaws and that kind of medium size sort of destroyers, that kind of thing. It can be good fun because at least you don't get insta-blacked with those.
yeah, it's set up in such a way. Like I know a lot of people don't like Fozzie stuff, but I love it because it is an area where you can outplay your enemy
Mm-hmm.
with strategy. You don't necessarily have to engage the big bad fleet that they bring.
Mm.
You can just run around in jackdaws and still win the fight, and that's the part that we like. But yeah, we've been doing a lot of saw fighting lately because we did leave our old home of Amencia, which we did a lot of saw fighting there, and now that we're in Fountain, more saw fighting. But that's right up our alley. We love that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let's come on to time zones. So as I understand, you guys are mostly US, is that right?
Yes, we're mostly US, but building our EU time zone quite nicely now. It's coming up well.
Okay, and how are you doing that? Are you kind of doing it by taking in corporations that are EU, or are you doing it kind of where every corporation is just trying to bring in its own EU players?
Yeah, currently it's tough, during the war to recruit groups, but we have been getting some individuals that came over. And recently, a couple months ago, when Pravi Block fell apart, we got Unity Venture, which was one of the larger corporations there, and they have a good amount of EU players as well. So it started to organically grow.
Okay, and obviously, I take it, if you're living in nullsec, you have to have some industry elements as well. So is that something that you focus heavily on, or do you sort of rely on other people within Legacy to help you out with that and provide you with resources?
Yeah, traditionally we don't have a very big industry wing. I mean, we do what we need to do, right? We do our moon mining and our ratting and stuff, but again, with the addition of Unity Venture, we're starting to develop our own industry shipbuilding sort of infrastructure. Again, it's a little bit difficult now living in an active war zone to be putting up structures and sort of the things you need for that, but it's coming along, and we're happy about that.
Okay, excellent. So can you describe to me kind of your typical alliance player? What kind of player do you generally kind of attract into your alliance?
So we generally like to get people that are community oriented first. Fed Up at its core is still a group that likes to operate like one big unit. So we want corporations and players that are all in on the goal of Federation Uprising as a whole. That doesn't mean we discount corporation identity, but we like for people to operate like we're one big family, shared structures, one central staging, shared doctrine lists, things like that.
Yeah.
And we do tend to be PvP oriented right now.
Okay, right, that's good to know. So, I mean, what about sort of alliance aspirations? You've now been, in nullsec for quite a few years. Is it your plan to get bigger? Is it your plan to kind of get yourself a real solid base of a home, or do you want to be? I mean, I was speaking to Razor, and they want to go back to their nomadic roots of going on deployment. What about for FedUp? What is his kind of ideal goal? What is the ideal kind of scenario for you?
Yeah, so like it's an interesting time in FedUp because we finally have transitioned all the way over to who we want to be permanently. That's taken a few years with the transition from low sec to null sec. And now that we've fought a few wars with Legacy now, we've been getting up more and more upgraded space. We're out of Amencia now, and I should say that was more of a strategic decision than an eviction. But with the new space in Fountain, we are much better set up now to be sort of more concentrated with our coalition, and in much better space than we were in Amencia. Amencia wasn't a great place to live. But our end goal would really to be like win this war, solidify ourselves, and then grow. And just like Razor, we kind of want that nice home base to get back to, but have the ability to deploy where the content was. We like to deploy.
Okay, all right, excellent. I'm going to cut you very quickly. Your screen has gone again. Okay. All right, so there we go. I fixed the video there again. And so, yeah, what we're going to talk about now actually is, you've talked how your alliance has kind of really changed, ever since coming over from LowSec. Now, obviously, you've been involved in the World War B2, down in Delve. You guys are in Amencia. You said you got moved. How has that changed? Hopefully for the better, your alliance. What have you found that this war has brought for you?
I think it's solidified us much better. The war comes with ups and downs, and we've had some pretty low downs and some pretty high highs, but altogether we've stuck together. So I think it's really strengthened our core quite a bit, battle hardened us a bit, and made us a little bit more tolerable to downswings and be able to pull through together some of the tougher stuff.
Yeah, you're getting used to the school of hard knocks, basically, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think I think everyone has suffered those at some point, and I think that's one of the things with a null-sec alliance is the ability to just keep plowing on. This has been very much a war of attrition, and the alliances that can keep their players keep logging in all the time and showing up to fleets are the ones that they're going to succeed. And that's one of the reasons I think why the Imperium have proved such a strong opponent, is because they will keep logging in, no matter what, if it comes to it. So, okay, so you mentioned right at the very beginning contraband venning. So, between the two of you, you kind of run the alliance, yeah? Is that how it works?
Yeah, Contraband was my first CEO when I joined, when I started playing Eve way back, probably 2015-ish. I'm sort of a BTAC R baby. Kind of saw that fight covered in the news media, and I was like, oh, I'll give this game a try. And at first, I had no intention of really doing anything social. I didn't want to join a corp. I just sort of wanted to solo PvP. And he sort of saw me hunting around in LowSec and nagged me for a couple of weeks to join the corporation, which I finally did. And then, as a lot of stories in Eve, we became personal friends. We've seen each other in real life, and started the alliance together with Ashtarothi at beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's me and Contraband running the alliance now, doing the best we can to keep it going and growing up.
Yes, I see you got your Federation Uprising jacket. So is that when you go to the conventions then, yeah?
Yeah, I've been to FanFest in Iceland and Eve North in Toronto and a couple other Eve meets.
And Eve Vegas, you're going to go, there's an Eve Vegas this year potentially? You're going to try and make it to that?
I was going to try to make it last year and then the world fell apart. I see that they're trying to put it back on. I'd love to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a player-only meet this time. I don't think CCP are going to be involved with it. I think it's just the players that organize themselves for that.
Right. That was the case last year too. CCP was going to go to San Diego, I think, was the official.
Yeah, the world tour thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think they wanted to keep the Vegas date on, and I think it's good for the Vegas meet to go back to a sole player run kind of meet. I think there's a certain charm to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's less control then as well, right?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
kind of do what you want to do and talk about what you want to talk about.
Okay, excellent. So, just so that we're going to sort of wrap up now. I mean, is there anything else particularly that you want to mention that you want to bring up?
No, just that we are definitely recruiting. We have a new EU military director, Rhaegar. It's a really good FC,
Okay.
um, and things are going very well for us. We enjoy very much being in Legacy. They allow us to keep our own identity, which I really like about Legacy. Like, yes, we're very heavy into the big blob fleets and stuff, but there's plenty of room for us to act in our own missions and our own objectives, and we do a lot of that. So sort of to debunk some of the myths about nullsec big blocks, is there is plenty of room to even do the small gang stuff, and that's what we like to do.
Okay, that's a brilliant way to finish off. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming on, Silver. Thank you very much for giving us a really good insight into Federation Uprising. And I wish you all the best. And we will probably catch up maybe in a year or two, and we'll do an update and see where you guys are then.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And there you have it. So thank you to Silver for coming on the show. And hopefully it's given you a good idea as well of what life is like in an alliance that's part of a big coalition. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. As always, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And do mention me in your Corp Discord, your Alliance Discord. And don't forget to put some comments down below, not only to feed the algorithm, because I also do like to hear what you have to say. And I try and engage as much as possible. All right, that's all from me. I will see you on the next one. Bye.